everyone, and welcome to Vlogmas Day 9. Another day of Vlogmas, but actually this Vlogmas is going to be a little different because I am going to be doing a Bookmas video. So in replace of Vlogmas today, we're going to do Bookmas. So I'll scatter a different Bookmas video here and there during Vlogmas. So I thought today we would just sit down and chat about books, specifically my favorite book series of 2023 and book series that I want to start in 2024. So grab yourself a beverage, maybe grab a holiday one, but we're gonna chat about all the book series in today's video, Bookmas video during Vlogmas, if that makes sense. So grab yourself a beverage and cheers! I compiled a list on my phone about book series that I love this year. I read quite a few, but I listed my top 10 favorite series. So we're gonna do top 10 all the way down to number 1. So some I have physical copies of the whole series on my bookshelf, and you'll be seeing me pull them out and share with you. And others were book series that I read on my Kindle. I bought myself a Kindle this year, February to be exact, and ever since I got it, it's been my best friend. I love the Kindle so much. I have Kindle Unlimited, so I've been downloading books from there, and that's where I discovered a lot of book series. So some will unfortunately only have the book cover. I'll make sure to put the book cover on the screen so you can see what series I'm talking about. Already had to grab some books behind me. So number 10 goes to the Knock 'Em Out series, which is Things We Never Got Over, Things We Hide from the Light, and Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is actually the first book I read on my Kindle from Kindle Unlimited back in February. So that is wild. I think I had just gotten this book in the mail. I didn't have a Kindle yet or anything, and I just got it, and I'm like, that is so fun that it's also on Kindle Unlimited. So I was going to read it on my Kindle and try it out, and I did. And I never actually picked up the physical book, but I had it because I had just ordered it and it just came in. I also believe the second book came out in February as well. So I read these two back to back, and then I didn't read this one until it was published in September. So the Knock 'Em Out series is number 10. I did quite enjoy it. I remember that it was such a fun storyline. So Knox and Naomi is the first book. The second book, let me see if I can remember, is Lena and Nash. And then of course, I just recently read this, so I kind of remember it. It is Lucian and Sloane. This was actually quite a fun series. I gave all 3 of the books 4 stars, and I really remember enjoying the series. So I'm glad I picked it up in 2023. It was pretty good. I loved the romance. There was some mystery and crime mixed into there, and I know a lot of people were disappointed with the 3rd book. I was as well, a teeny bit, but still overall it was a fun series to read, and I highly recommend it. If you haven't picked it up, I suggest putting it on your 2024 TBR. Coming in at number 9, we have the Playing for Keeps series. So this I read on my Kindle, so it's just going to be a picture. I don't own the physical books, but I read, I think, the 3 books that are out. So it is Consider Me, Play With Me, and Unravel Me, I believe. I just remember it out of the top of my head. I'm hoping that is correct. I did take notes for this video, but I didn't put the actual individual books, so I'm hoping that's correct. But you already see the graphic. Please tell me I am. It's gonna bug me when I'm editing. But this is a sports series. It is a hockey romance, and I was very into it. A lot of hockey romances this year, sports romances. I know I read a lot of sports/hockey romances this this year, but this series stood out, the Playing for Keeps series by Becca Mack. And I just remember loving Carter in the first book. He was like such a book boyfriend. Like, I never had a book boyfriend before, and he was like one of my first ones that I couldn't get enough of him. I mean, some people don't like him because he's very corny, very cheesy. Like, he was a playboy turned like simp for his girl, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed reading it. I just remember the fun storylines. It was pretty good, pretty entertaining. I believe I gave the first 2 books 5 stars and the last book 4 stars, and it was highly rated for me, so I just remember enjoying it. It was fun. You want like a sports slash hockey romance that is perfect for the winter time, because I feel like it takes place in Canada and it like has wintry vibes. This is perfect. Moving on to number 8, which is the Windy City series. I believe the books in this series are Mile High, The Right Move, and Caught Up. I remember that, so that is great. This one is definitely more sports romance. The first book is hockey, the second book is basketball, and then the third book is baseball, so you get a variety of sports. It's another book series that I discovered on Kindle Unlimited as well as Book Talk. It was all over the place, and I read Mile High right before I got on a plane in April, and it made it like so fun because it's about a flight attendant and a hockey player. She is a flight attendant for the charter hockey team, so they can like fly out from Chicago to the different places. And this series was so good. The second book made me sob while I was on an airplane. I loved it so much, and I loved the third. So this was a pretty good series. I believe I gave the first book 4 star and then the second and third a 5 star, but this series is just so good. Another sports romance, great characters. All of it was so fun to read. So yes, if you've seen a lot about this series this year, it's because it's so good. Even I was like sucked into the hype, so definitely check out the Windy City series by Liz Tomford if you want a fun like sports romance that has different kinds of sports and like different representations, and it was such a good book, so highly recommend this one. Now we're moving on to number 7, and number 7 goes to the Cottonwood Cove series by Laura Pavlov. This series has 5 books, and the last one recently just came out last month, and I just finished it. I started this series the beginning of summer, or I remember it was like May. I was wanting something to read, and I was just scrolling through my Kindle trying to find a new book to read, and I discovered this series, and it has been so much fun to read. It is a small town interconnected series, so you don't necessarily have to like read the first one, but I read them in order because I usually do that. I don't know, I'm the kind of person who reads a book series in order and has to read it in the order intended. I'm not sure, it's just I guess my personality. So honestly, I don't remember the order of this series, so I pulled it up on my Goodreads. The first book is Into the Tide, the second book was Under the Stars, third book was On the Shore, fourth book was Before the Sunset, and book number 5 was After the Storm. Let me start from the beginning. The first book was Into the Tide. Unfortunately, I gave that book 3 stars. It wasn't my cup of tea, unfortunately. It was best friend's sister, and they were like childhood friends, but they never got together, I believe, because she was always scared about her brother finding out that she had a crush on him, so it's age gap as well, so it was a very cliche story. But what got me was the sibling group text and just the banter between the siblings. So the 5 books are 5 different siblings. So the Reynolds siblings, they live in Cottonwood Cove, and it's like this fictional small town where like there's so many antics. It's so much fun. So I pushed through and I actually continued on with the series, and book number 2 actually made me fall in love with the series. I remember this one was more like me, and I enjoyed reading it a lot more. It is Billionaire, and like she works for him, so office romance, is that what that's called? So it redeemed itself, and each of the book titles are like mentioned in a way in the book, and it's so fun getting to like go through each of the Reynolds siblings like love story and all that, and it's like interconnected. You see each other. I love the group text aspect of it. It's so fun. So yeah, there's a lot of different tropes in each of the books, so you can find one that you like. Book number 3, I believe, is a journalist. She is a writer, and she gets with a professional football player, so you have sports romance. You have childhood friends to lovers in the 4th book, and he is an actor. And then the 5th one is a single dad. He's a veterinarian for the small town, and it's just such a fun series. I loved reading it, being absorbed into the world, and it was just so fun. So I enjoyed the series. Overall, I would rate it 4 stars. A lot of the books were 4 stars besides the first book, obviously. But other than that, like, you have to push through sometimes with a series. Like, you give it another chance and you end up falling in love with it. So that was this series for me, and even though like I have a few negative things about it, it was still good overall. I did love it. So highly recommend if you're looking for like this kind of like small town interconnected series that centers around siblings and has a lot of different tropes. This series might be for you. Now for my top 6 favorite series this year, I actually have the physical copy so I can share it with you, and if you can tell, it is the Chestnut Spring series. Like everyone else, I read this series this year and I fell in love. I actually didn't fall in love with the first one like I did with the Cottonwood Cove series. It was the same thing with this. Like, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't fully in love, but I was willing to push through. So I originally read it on my Kindle, so I still like did that, but I enjoyed it enough to buy the physical copy for once. I have a rule where if it's on Kindle Unlimited, I don't really need the physical copies, but sometimes I do make an exception. This was such a hyped up series and I did love it. It was so fun, and if you're into like cowboy romances, this is the series for you. This series is the reason I started my cowboy romance series and fell down a rabbit hole of a lot of cowboy romances. This year I read a lot on Kindle Unlimited again, and I know there's like going to be more coming out for those series, so they didn't make my top 10, but know that I read quite a bit of series on my Kindle as well, so these are just like my favorites. So this is getting heavy, so let me put it down, but let me talk you through the series a little bit. So Flawless is the first book. It has Rhett and Summer in it, and he is a bull rider, and this takes place in Canada. Actually, I didn't think like they had like western things up there. I don't know, maybe because I'm just from like a small town in California. This was quite fun though. I gave it a 3 stars originally, but I reread it when I got the physical copy and I moved it up to a 4 stars. I don't know, maybe I was just not in the mood when I read this, just like I was with the first book in the Cottonwood Cove series, as I said. But looking back on it, I did enjoy it. I did like enjoy their storyline and like everything about the characters. I love how Elsie Silver just like makes her characters, and I pushed through because I heard the second book was like the best in the series at the time. So picked up Heartless and I did enjoy it. This is a single dad romance, nanny romance. So the characters in this book is the brother of Rhett and the best friend to Summer. So what are their names? Cade and Willa. That's what the names of these 2 characters are, and it's very spicy, very fun. It was quite enjoyable, so I gave it 4 stars, and I could see why it was a lot of people's favorite book, but honestly, I enjoyed the third one, which is Powerless, and this one is actually about Jasper and Sloane. And Jasper is like the adopted brother. Like, he has a bad family life and he got adopted with the Eatons Is that how you say their last name? Yes, the Eatons. And like they're all connected in some way. So he's a hockey player, she's a ballerina. That's what made me so intrigued about this series, is that she was a ballerina, I was a ballerina, and I just love stories that have ballet or ballerinas in it. So yeah, I loved it. The dynamic with this duo, it is kind of like friends to lovers in the beginning. She was supposed to marry someone else and things go down, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 stars, and I enjoyed it most out of the series. But then the 4th book came along and stole the title. So the 4th one is Reckless. This was my favorite out of the whole Chestnut Spring series. So this one has Theo and Winter. Winter is actually Summer's half-sister, and she's very cold. I love that her name's Winter and she's cold. She is a doctor, and she sleeps with Theo, who is Rhett's like apprentice. Like he was training to become like a world famous bull rider, and they go to one of Rhett and Summer's party, and something happens, of course, and she ends up pregnant, and it's like one of those like secret baby kind of things, and like he always wanted a child, and it's so sweet, and I love Theo so much. He was definitely a top 10 book boyfriend for me this year. Like I love Theo so much. So this was my favorite out of the series. But we have one more book left in the Chestnut Spring series, and that is Hopeless, and this one is about the last Eaton brother. So essentially there is 4. One of them's like not actually the brother, but they treat him like a brother. You see Beau in the different books, and he is in the Canadian military. I don't know what you call that, but he's part of like the armed forces, special forces, something like that. The Canadian version of like what I'm trying to say. And he gets back home and something happens to him. You see that throughout the books. Something happens to him, but he comes back, and you follow his story, and like he's a little broken, and Bailey is his love interest in this, and she is a little bit broken as well. And this was a little disappointing for me. I didn't enjoy it as much as the others. So Hopeless and Flawless weren't that good for me, but overall the whole series was definitely a 4-star for me. So that was all the books. Hopefully I gave a good enough summary, but if you haven't read the Chestnut Spring series like everyone else on BookTube, BookTok, Bookstagram, everywhere, if you have like social media or like a book social media, you would have seen a lot of people picked up this series. I can see why I loved it. I hope you did too, or if not, pick it up in 2024. It's completed, but Elsie Silver is coming out with like another series that will have maybe like sprinkles of these characters in. Like I love when authors do that. They have like a whole universe and they have different series for that. Oh goodness, a book fell behind me and scared me to death. So overall, great series. It was probably a 4.5 series overall for me, and I loved it. So please pick it up if you haven't. Entering my top 5 favorite series of 2023, and it goes to the Caraval series. I recently just finished this series. There is a reading vlog which I will link down below in the description if you want to see my overall thoughts, ratings, reviews about this whole series, but I'm just gonna summarize my thoughts in this. I love this series. I love Stephanie Garber's writing. It was so enjoyable. So Caraval is about Scarlett and Donatella. They are sisters from this like fantasy world that I cannot pronounce probably. Every year Scarlett has been writing to Legend, who puts on this mysterious carnival which is called Caraval, and it's like a game, and it's like this mystery, and it's very fun. It's a great fantasy series if you're wanting to start off with that. I gave the series 4.5 stars. It is a 4.5 series for me. I love this series. It was so fun and definitely worth the read. If you haven't picked up a like fantasy series and you want to start something, I recommend this one. It's really easy to get into and follow, and it's just so magical and fun like I've been saying, so highly recommend. Now we're moving back to Kindle series. So number 4 goes to the Eden series, and this was the second series that I picked up on my Kindle back when I got it during the first of the year, and I love this. So Indigo Ridge was the first book, and it has romance, but it also has a mystery subplot. I love that. I ate this book up, and I remember reading it and just enjoying like the twists and turns. Like, yes, there's romance and it is a romance series, but it has like that like mystery to it, because there is a murder in this small town. I think it's called Quincy, Montana, and it is 6 books, just like the Cottonwood Cove series, which I read the Cottonwood Cove series because it reminded me of the Eden series. So the Edens are 6 siblings as well in a small town, Quincy, Montana. I'm not sure if that like town really exists, but in this book it does. Honestly, after this video, I'm going to Google if Quincy, Montana actually exists. I know Montana exists. It's a state, I believe. My geography is terrible, but like this series was so good. So it's 6 books, and the 6th book actually just came out 2 days ago as I'm filming this. So since it is December 9th, it came out December 7th. So I haven't picked up the last book, but still it's like such a good series and it was just so fun. So Indigo Ridge is the first one. It involves a cowboy, so that is where essentially the cowboy romances for me started. He owns a ranch, or their family own a ranch, something like that. There's a ranch in there. And Win, I forgot the guy's name. Win and Garrett, is that what? Don't quote me, I don't remember these things. I read this in February, people. Win is the new police chief in Quincy, Montana, and she like takes over and she goes to a bar, and it's a one-night stand with her and the first, or the eldest Eden brother. And the Edens like own Quincy. They're like, there's like different businesses that they own. There's like a restaurant business, hotel, a bake shop. We'll get into the other books, but that is essentially where it starts. So Juniper Hill is the 2nd book, which is single dad. I think the female main character comes in from New York. No, it's not single dad. It's single mom. I've been reading so many single dad romances that I always assume it's single dad. Single mom, she comes with her son from New York, and she has a mysterious past, and he owns a restaurant in Quincy. The 3rd book is Garnet Flats, and I believe that one I didn't enjoy as much. There always is a book in like a series that I don't enjoy as much, and actually, it was the 3rd book for this series. The 3rd book takes place with, there's twins, so I forgot their names and stuff, but the 3rd book involves a boxer and a nurse, I believe. Or is she a doctor? No, she's a doctor. So a doctor and a boxer. And then number 4 is Jasper Vale, and I remember his name because it's in the title, Jasper. It is a marriage of convenience. So Eloise, I think that's her name, because that's the title of, or that's the name of the hotel in Quincy, and she wants to take over the hotel, but her parents think she's not ready yet, so she accidentally gets married to the 3rd book's best friend in Las Vegas as they're celebrating, and that one was really fun. I remember enjoying that one. And then number 5 is Crimson River. This one takes place with a bakery, so a baker and a ex-policeman, I believe, and this one was very reminiscent to the first book, Indigo Ridge, and that's what made me love this book again, because it had like the murder mystery of it, and this one was a little darker and I enjoyed it, and it had like bakery and sweet treats, and that was fun too, and it was very good. And then the sixth one, I can't tell you if I like it or not because I haven't read it, but I'm sure I'll be enjoying it, so I can't give like my overall review I don't feel like, because I haven't read the last book, but honestly I think I'm going to enjoy it. Also, I see that there's different like ones, so there is Christmas in Quincy, so I'll have to read that this month as well. But overall, I love this series. It was so fun. If you like romance but has like a mystery subplot in there, and it's like a little darker, it's small town, it's different tropes again, this is a very fun series, and I can't wait to finish it off. And like I'm going to be sad that I'm going to be leaving the Edens and Quincy, but it's really a fun series. Highly recommended. Now we're entering my top 3 favorite series that I read in 2023, and these were quite easy for me to narrow down my top 3. So I am going to start with number 3, and that is the Mind F series. So the Mind series. It is by St. Abbey. I read it during Thriller Week, so I did like a whole thriller reading vlog in September to like start off spooky season, and I don't really pick up thrillers too much, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to do Thriller Week. It was actually the last book that I read during Thriller Week, and it's like 5 small little books or like 1 gigantic big boy book. I spent the whole entire weekend, maybe I read it in a whole day, just sitting there reading these books on my Kindle. Like, it was so good. I was just glued to my Kindle. I got all cozy on my couch, didn't have the lights on. I just read through each of the books, and I loved this series. I absorbed it. When people say this is a good series, they weren't lying. So please, like, read this series. It's so good. This book has a female serial killer and an FBI agent. Intriguing, right? I thought so too. And you're just on like the, how do you say it? Tip of your no, the edge of your seat, like wanting to find out what's going to happen, because she is a serial killer and he is an FBI agent who hunts down serial killers. So you have that aspect, and it made me like so anxious, but like the anxiousness was so good. I loved every single bit. Like, it was like I was watching a TV show in my head. I love watching these TV shows, and like reading about it, I was like, I could see like in my head, like I was like absorbed into this book so much. It like had so many twists and turns. She is a morally gray character, but you're rooting for her, and I loved how everything played out. It's all revealed why Lana is this way, why she is a serial killer. And though I don't condone being a serial killer, obviously, like, I was still rooting for her, and I did not mind why she was doing this. She was on a revenge spree, and honestly, like, I was like, go girl. And then you have Logan Bennett. He's the FBI agent, and he's just such a good guy. He's one of those typical like FBI agents that you see in TV shows, and like, I know he's like the good guy and everything, but you just see their story and their romance, and it's a little spicy, of course, and it was just so good. Every time I see someone pick up the series, I'm like, yes, please, like, do it. And it's just amazing. And like, reading all the reviews about it, honestly, it's so good. It definitely lives rent-free in my head. Sometimes I want to go like read it again. I'm thinking about getting the physical books. Like I said, I don't normally like get the physical books unless I really loved it, and I really love this, so I might pick it up, especially now that it's December. Maybe I can get it as a Christmas gift to myself and have a little trophy because it's like about serial killers, and you know, serial killers love trophies. I want the trophy on my shelf that I read this series. It's so good. I gave all of the books, besides the fifth one, 4 stars. The fifth one was 5 stars. And also overall, the whole series for me was 5 stars. That's why it's in my top 3, because it was a 5-star series. Please read it. I don't know how much I can like say to convince you to read this series. And now that brings us to number 2, and I just recently finished it, and by recent I mean just yesterday. So number 2 goes to the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy or series, whatever you call this, by Stephanie Garber. It is the spin-off series to the Caraval series. So one of the characters from the Caraval series is the main character in this series. And when I tell you that I binged this whole entire thing, I understand why everyone loves this so much. It is such a great fantasy series. It's magical. It's like the writing, there's like so many good quotes. I do have a reading vlog about this, which it's probably going to have like 3 hours of footage that I have to get through, and it's probably going to be an hour long. But this series was so good. I read each one and I just loved it. Like my reactions, everything to this book series was so good. It's another series that like everyone was talking about this year, and I can see why. It was so good. This is the first series that I ever gave 5 stars to each book. Like, this was 5 stars, all of them, and then the whole entire thing was 5 stars. So I've never done that with a series before until this, because I enjoyed every bit of these books. So please read all of them. These are the special edition ones, but get any edition you can. Like, just buy the books. Please do. It's so good. So definitely deserved its top 2 spot. And even though I was like really tempted to put this on number 1, I kind of loved something a teeny tiny bit more. So now that you know my top 2, my top 1 actually I don't own. It was another Kindle series. So you want to know what my top favorite series was of 2023? It is the Wild series by K.A. Tucker. The Simple Wild, Wild at Heart, Forever Wild, and Running Wild. So it is the Wild series. I picked up the Simple Wild because I just saw like a quote on TikTok, and then it was downloaded onto my Kindle and I forgot about it. It's been on my Kindle for months. I like had no clue it was there, and when I was going through like my TBR, I was like, oh, I remember this. So I did like a head toss kind of video because I was indecisive between 2 books. So the Simple Wild won. So I decided, you know what? Okay, let's read it. I forgot what it was about. I just jumped in blind. I remember reading the prologue for that TikTok vlog, and it was just a normal book. I was just like, okay, this is it. Like, it's just going to be another romance series. Let's get it over with then. So I read the prologue and I put it down, and then before bed I was like, I'm not that sleepy yet. Let me just read a few more chapters of this book. And right there, that was a bad idea. After the first few chapters, I could not put it down, and I broke my sleep schedule for this book. I just had to keep going. I was so enthralled in this book, and I have no idea why. It was just such a simple book. It's called The Simple Wild. Like, honestly, like, it wasn't much, but it was just my favorite thing. Like, I cannot describe to you anything about like my favorite thing because I love it so much that I just can't get any words out to tell you how much I love this book. The characters in it, it's small town, it's a small Alaskan town, and like you fall in love with the characters, and it's just such like, I understand why people call it boring, because it kind of is. You're just following their simple life. Honestly, that's why it's called The Simple Wild. You're just following, it's not like anything crazy. It's real life problems. Like, everything about it just feels like a warm hug, and it's a series that I'm definitely going to reread, and like I love it so much. It's just, it's comforting. I understand why some people have a comfort series. This one is mine, and I just wish that I had the physical copies because I want them so bad, because I love the series so much, and it definitely deserves the top spot because it has not left my mind. I'll just randomly start thinking about them like they're my friends. Like, I'm like, excuse me, these are fictional characters. You can't be like doing that. But yeah, I'm insane that way, that I will just be like making dinner and I'm like, oh, this happened in like the Simple Wild. I wonder if like they'll cook it this way. I'm like, excuse me, do you know that they're not real? Like, they're not your friends that you met on like holiday or something. So honestly, please read this series. It is so good. I hope I convinced you enough to read it. Also, I love that my top 3 favorite book series this year was a romance book series, a thriller book series, and a fantasy book series. So honestly, that's why I did it that way. So my top 3 are like essentially part of different categories. I know that was long and rambly, but now I'm going to make the series that I want to read in 2024. Again, some I own, some I don't own, and some might be on Kindle. So let me start off with this shelf right behind me. It is my series shelf. It has all the book series essentially, and I want to get them off of my physical TBR next year. So I'm going to like, some of them, I know all of them right here are complete series, so I just when I'm going to like pick them up. First up is the Inheritance Games series. I think that's what this is called, by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So I have all 3 of the books. Up is the Twisted series by Anna Huang, and this is all over my book talk, my bookstagram, everywhere. I have not picked it up. It's been sitting on my bookshelf for so long that it's probably collecting dust. So we have Twisted Love, the first one. We have Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, and then Twisted Lies. Speaking of like romance series, one that is also very popular is this right here, the Dreamland Billionaire series. So we have the fine print and terms and conditions. I honestly don't have the 3rd book because it got picked up by a publishing house and I have the indie version, so if I buy the 3rd one it wouldn't match, so that's why I haven't bought it. But good thing it's on Kindle Unlimited. Next up we have a YA fantasy series again, and this is the Kingdom of the Wicked series. I'm not sure if it actually has a title, but this is by Carrie Maniscalco. So we have Kingdom of the Wicked, Kingdom of the Cursed, and Kingdom of the Feared, and I heard good things about this, and I actually recently picked up a spin-off series of like another book series with one of the characters, so it's like similar to the Caraval series and Once Upon a Broken Heart. So I have like one of the books back there that I need to maybe read these first before I pick that one up. Then we have the Love Light series. So I just finished Love Light Farms yesterday, so it was such a cute like holiday romance, but since I started the series I have no choice now to follow the rest of them. So we have In the Weeds and Mixed Signals. They're all by B.K. Borison, and it was so good. I love this. I have to admit, reading the first few chapters of this book I was a little bored, but it picked up and it was so enjoyable, and I rated it 4 stars. So that was yesterday. If you watched Vlogmas Day 8, I just sat and read this book all day long and I enjoyed it. So you see the characters of these books. There's supposed to be one more, but it hasn't been published yet. Now let's get to a series that I've been dying to start, but I haven't been wanting to start because all the books haven't been out. I mean, they are out, but they got republished. So let me see if I can lift this up because there are a lot of books. I would like to read the whole Addicted / Calloway sister series, but I believe now it's just called the Addicted series. So it is actually 10 books. Yes, 10 books. I believe that would be the longest book series I have read if I start this. I want to tackle the Addicted series. I hear it's so good. It's between an alcoholic and a sex addict, and they have addiction, and I just hear like it's such a fun series and you get attached to them, and I hope I do. I hope I love this world, and I love that there are 10 books that I have to get through, so that's gonna be fun. The 8th book is Fuel the Fire, so as you saw in a previous Vlogmas video, I went to Walmart and picked up this book as it just got published. So I have 8 of the books out of the 10, and I love the covers and the books, and they all match. That's why I'm like getting them. And I just learned yesterday when I was trying to link that book, it is on Kindle Unlimited, so that is fun. So honestly, I don't have to wait to like get the last 2 books, but I want to get them before I start it. And speaking of 10 book series, I would like to jump into the Sarah J Maas universe, and I want to finish off reading the ACOTAR series, so A Court of Thorns and Roses. They are actually behind me. I own the physical books, and I just got done finishing the first book in November, and I loved it, so I can't wait to do that. So honestly, the first book series of hers that I want to like finish is the ACOTAR series and get my way through that. There we go. There they are. I have them back there, so I'm honestly not gonna get them out of my bookshelf. It's too hard, but as you saw, I have them, and I need to finish that series in 2024. And then everyone has been raving about the Throne of Glass series, and honestly, that one sounds good too. I believe it's 10 books as well, and then you have to do like a tandem read and everything. So I've just been seeing a lot of like book talk videos about it and booktube videos, so I'm like, you know what? I was enjoying ACOTAR. I've been enjoying my fantasy era. Let's jump into that. Another YA fantasy series that I might want to tackle. So this is an if, but the Shatter Me series. I believe there's only one more book series that I want to start in 2024, and that is the Magnolia Parks series by Jessa Hastings. Again, heard so many good things about it. Heard that it was like a British Gossip Girl. I think that might be the last one. Hopefully I shared 10 series that I want to read in 2024. This was such a fun video. I got to share with you all of my favorite series that I read and then want to read, so hopefully that is a lot of mixture. I am a romance book girly. I always have been, so yeah, but I have been dipping my toes into like fantasy. Again, I was a very big fantasy romance girl back in like my early teens, so like I'm now going back to it, and now I'm just surrounded by all the book series I took out of my shelf. Like I'm just surrounded by so many books, and like some of the books in my bookshelf fell over, so I'll have to deal with that. Let me know if you want to see any reading vlogs for more book series, what you want to read next year, or what your favorite book series was this year. If you read any of these, please let's discuss it. Let's be book friends. I have my Goodreads, which I'll link down below. You can follow me on there, see what I've been reading, what I want to read. I am going to insert me and my dad's advent calendar time. It's advent calendar time, and we're gonna do day 9, but first let's put in my dad's footage.
Here we go, advent calendar day number 9. Time to open the candy up on, there we go. Yeah, it's a pretty one. I don't know what it is. There, it's a big one. Time to eat the candy. That's it for day 9 advent calendar. Down tomorrow will be day 10. Thank you.
Now it's my turn. We're going to do day 9, which is right here. Finally, we got a middle one. So let's open it up. Ooh, it's a funny shape today. Oh, it's the squirrel. Let me show you. Teeny tiny squirrel. So, And that is it for day 9 of our advent calendar. We'll see you tomorrow for day 10. Bye! Say bye! And you made it to the end of the video. So I took all my pictures of the books and I made my TikToks. So I am done for the evening, thank goodness, because I'm really tired now. Now I have a ton of books scattered all over my bed, so I have to put all of them back into my bookshelf next to me, and I can call it an evening after that. So I'll make sure to link all of the book series down below. So instead of linking every single book, because that's gonna take forever, because some of these books have a lot of books in it, I'm gonna link the first book to every series that I mentioned. There you have it. That is it for day 9 of Vlogmas. I hope you enjoyed watching this Bookmas video today. It was really fun talking to you about my favorite book series and book series that I want to start next year. So hope you enjoyed. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you tomorrow for Vlogmas day 10. Bye everyone! Good night, Christmas tree!